Somewhere in Ghana, a 19-year-old boy with no label, no manager, and no money recorded a freestyle on a beat someone sent through WhatsApp. He didn't write the lyrics down, he just rapped. That freestyle opened the door, but the song that changed everything was Second Sermon. Burna Boy personally reached out. The song exploded across Africa, and that same boy became the first Ghanaian artist to perform at Wireless Festival in London. He later stood on a stage in Ghana, winning Artist of the Year.
And the winner is Iron Boy Black Sherif.
Album of the Year and Songwriter of the Year, before breaking down in tears in front of the whole country. But what nobody tells you about Black Sherif's overnight success story is that it was never overnight. And the real story starts with something he lost, not something he gained. Before the stages, before Burna Boy, before the Apple Music charts, there was a small boy in a small town called Konongo-Zongo in the Ashanti region of Ghana, Mohammed Ismail Sherif, born January 9, 2002, named after a prophet, raised in the Zongo, the Ghanaian word for the ghetto, the place where people hustle because they have to, not because they want to. His parents worked overseas, so at age 10 years old, Mohammed was sent to live with his aunt and extended family, moving around, different houses, different environments, different cultures. He said it himself, "My nomadic lifestyle exposed me to multiple influences at a very early age. No stable home, no studio, no budget, recording on borrowed time, a kid who had to fight for everything that others took for granted. That is the foundation of who Black Sherif is. He was Muslim, and in Islam, making music as a career is not just unusual. It is considered haram, forbidden. His own faith was telling him to dodge the one thing pulling at him hardest. He said it himself, the music was chasing me, but I was always dodging it. And there's one specific moment, one loss, that stopped him from dodging it forever. That moment is coming, but first, you need to understand just how many times this kid got knocked down before anyone heard his name. Let me talk about the failures, because the internet loves to say Black Sherif just blew overnight. That is a lie. He graduated from Kumasi Academy. Music grabbed him properly. He took a gap year, specifically to learn music, not to rush in, to understand it. So, he went to auditions. Ghana has big televised talent competitions, Mentor X and MTN Hitmaker, the same stages that launched Kidi and Kwame Eugene into superstardom. He auditioned. Didn't make it. He auditioned again. Didn't make it. Think about that for a second. The man who would later have Burna Boy calling him couldn't get past a talent show audition. He didn't quit. He released his first single, Cry For Me, raw, personal, straight from Konongo. It didn't chart. It didn't go viral. The world didn't notice. Then, in January 2020, money. Enough attention to know he was on the right road. Not enough to change his life. Fast forward to May 2021. He's building momentum for a debut EP. His producer, Ghanaian Stallion, had sent him a beat. Weeks earlier, it had just been sitting there, waiting. That night, they played it. Black Sherif opened his mouth. No pen, no paper, no written verse. And First Sermon was born. He said it himself. First Sermon was a freestyle. We played the beat and that was it. The video was shot on the streets of East Legon, Accra. Budget, basically zero. Vision, everything. Ghana heard it. And something inside people clicked. But First Sermon was just the spark. Second Sermon, that's the song that changed the trajectory of African music. And here's the part that hits differently once you know the full story. He made Second Sermon 2 days after First Sermon. 2 days. But in those 2 days, he wasn't celebrating. He was carrying something much heavier. About 2 weeks before he recorded Second Sermon, Black Sherif lost someone whose name is literally in that song. I'll tell you exactly who that was and what it meant in a few minutes, because once you know, you will never hear that song the same way again. So here is this 19-year-old grieving, hurting on the streets of Accra, and he starts walking, just walking and writing on his phone. He said, "I think all the inspiration came from First Sermon. The people are hearing me. Let me tell my story. This is who I am. This is how I am hungry for this. This is Blacko." Second Sermon drops in July 2021. It doesn't just go viral. It spreads the way only a song with real pain behind it can spread. person to person, phone to phone, country to country. Nigeria was singing it. The UK diaspora was sharing it. And then a phone rang. On the other end was one of the biggest names in all of African music, Burna Boy, who doesn't do many remixes, who doesn't chase trends, who protects his brand ruthlessly, reached out personally. He said the song moved him. He wanted on the remix. Black Sherif, the boy who couldn't get past a talent show audition, was now getting a call from the African giant himself. The Second Sermon remix dropped, and if the original was a wildfire, the remix was a volcano. People call him a sad boy. His fans call themselves sad boys. But Black Sherif explained it himself. Sad means happy. Sad means sad. Sad means hungry for success. Here, you have to beat the system. If you make the system beat you, yawa. He said it even simpler in another interview. 3 words. Accra, hard, bro. And millions of people in a dozen countries heard that and thought, so is my city, so is my life. That is the Black Sherif superpower. Honesty so specific, it becomes universal. Now, I told you there was a loss, and I told you there was a name in Second Sermon that meant everything. About 2 weeks before he recorded Second Sermon, Black Sherif lost his favorite cousin. Her name was Sister Mariama. He has spoken about her only a few times, quietly, like someone who protects the sacred things, but he put her in the song. He references her directly, calling for a minute's silence in her honor, asking for her guidance from wherever she had gone. Think about that. He is 19, he is grieving, he is broke, he failed his auditions, his first song flopped, and instead of shutting down, he picks up his phone, goes for a walk through the streets of Accra and pours everything into a verse. Sister Mariama is in Second Sermon. Every time that song plays in a nightclub in Lagos, on a speaker in London, through headphones in New York, she is there too. That is not a marketing strategy. That is not a formula. That is a boy from Konongo-Zongo keeping a promise to someone he loved. This is why the music hits the way it hits. And this is why, when Burna Boy heard it, a man who has heard a million songs, he stopped and picked up the phone. March 2022, Black Sherif drops Kwaku The Traveller, and everything changes. Again, it goes #1 on Apple Music in Ghana. Then, and this had literally never happened before, it goes #1 on Apple Music in Nigeria. The first Ghanaian artist in history to top Nigeria's Apple Music chart. In a country that has Wizkid, Davido, and Burna Boy, a 20-year-old from Konongo-Zongo climbed to the top. The music video has now been watched 43 million times on YouTube. October 2022, the debut album, The Villain I Never Was, The Villain He Never Was, because the world had called him too raw, too different, too street. This album was his answer. Then came December 2022, Zama Disco, Accra, sold out. What started in Konongo was no longer a local story. Soon, Black Sherif was performing on some of the biggest stages in the world, including London's Wireless Festival. The same boy who once struggled to get noticed was now standing before thousands of fans, carrying Ghanaian music to a global audience. Not because someone handed him a shortcut, because he kept going when almost everyone else would have stopped. But here's what nobody was talking about. While all of this was happening, right when everything was going right, someone tried to take it all away. In April 2022, right at the peak of Kwaku The Traveller, a lawsuit landed. A man named Shadrach Agye Owusu, CEO of Wayne's Chavis Consult, claimed he had invested in Black Sherif's career and that Blacko had signed a distribution deal with Empire Records in breach of their agreement. He sought a court injunction that would have stopped Black Sherif from performing at the exact moment his career was exploding. I'm not here to say who is right, but understand this. The moment you start winning, someone appears to take a piece of it, and often that someone was there in the beginning. Black Sherif kept performing, kept recording, kept winning. April 2025, second album, Iron Boy. 2025 BEAT Awards nomination. Won Best International Flow at the BET Hip Hop Awards. He navigated all of it while the world was watching. And then something happened that stopped the whole country. TGMA 2026 New Material at the 27th Telecel Ghana Music Awards. Black Sherif won Artist of the Year. He won Album of the Year for Iron Boy. He won Songwriter of the Year. 3 awards, 1 night, 1 stage. And when they called his name, he stood at the microphone and said, "Give me 6 minutes." And then he became emotional. Not because he didn't expect to win, but because he understood exactly what it cost to get there. A boy who was told music was haram, who got rejected from 2 talent shows, who lost his cousin and wrote about it from a street corner, who had a lawsuit thrown at him at the peak of his career, standing on a stage in Ghana, being emotional, holding 3 awards. Here is what Black Sherif actually built. A genre-less sound, high life, drill, Afrobeats, reggae, hip-hop, fused in a way that sounds like Konongo-Zongo, like a Zongo midnight, like a boy writing on his phone while grief walks beside him. A movement, sad boys, that gave a generation permission to be hungry and hurting at the same time. And a proof of concept for every young African creator told their sound is too local, too raw, too much. The most specific thing you can be is also the most universal. He said it long before any of this, when he was still a nobody on a street corner with a phone and a borrowed beat. I wanted to be a beast before I broke out. I knew that people would hear of me, so I wanted that when they heard of me, they would never go back. He was 19 when he said that, broke, rejected, grieving, and he was right. The overnight success of Black Sherif is a story about a boy who lost his cousin, failed his auditions, flopped his first song, had a lawsuit thrown at him, and still refused to let the world define what was possible for him. 1 freestyle, 1 beat, 1 walk through the streets of Accra, that's all it took, after years of everything else. If this story moved you, if you needed to hear that the failures are part of it, not proof against it, then this channel is for you. We tell the real stories, not the highlight reel, the full picture. Hit subscribe, because the next story I'm dropping is one that Ghana, Nigeria, and the whole continent is not ready for. This is Fame Africa.